Hi there, my name is Martin Salvo and I'm a registered migration agent and senior immigration lawyer at Salvo Migration. And if you're watching this video, then you may be interested to find out more information about Australian partner or spouse visas. So you're in luck, because in this video, I'm going to talk about the 5 top tips to improve your Australian partner visa application. So let's get straight into it. Welcome back. So top tip number 1 is to really understand your relationship timeline and your key milestones in your relationship. So in every relationship, there are certain milestones, certain moments. Let's say the beginning moment or the first moment is when you meet in person. Okay, so when you meet. The next is when, let's say, you become boyfriend, girlfriend, or girlfriend, or boyfriend. That's when the relationship commences, let's say, when you became exclusive. Then at a certain point in time, you will become a de facto couple. De facto. And then for certain couples, there'll be other milestones, such as when you become engaged, married. Some of you may have children. You may purchase property together. Etc, etc. And these milestones will accrue naturally prior to you eventually applying for your partner visa. So it's very useful to provide to the Department of Immigration a relationship timeline extract that very accurately depicts the key milestones in your relationship. Because what this does is that it gives the case officer a bird's eye view, an overview of your relationship, in addition to the other documents and evidence that you'll provide to support your relationship and your application. So again, providing a timeline, a summarized timeline of the key milestones of your relationship will go a really long way in improving your Australian partner visa. Top tip number 2 is to avoid inconsistencies between your evidence, your documents, and the government forms that you will complete. So when you are providing or collecting your evidence for your partner visa, there is a range of documents, a range of evidence that you will collect, and that evidence will generally cover the 4 aspects of your relationship. That will be social aspects, financial, the nature of your commitment, and your cohabitation, the fact that you and your partner live together. So your evidence will generally touch on those 4 areas. Now, it's really important that when you complete the application form, that your evidence is consistent amongst itself. So you don't want any contradictions amongst your evidence. And then the answers, the information that you fill into the government forms is consistent with the evidence itself. So if there are dates that are listed in your evidence and the forms or the questions in the forms are asking you for those dates, make sure that they are consistent. And this isn't just about dates, it's about names, it's about information, making sure that they're consistent amongst the evidence itself and across the application form and the evidence combined. Top tip number 3 is to make sure that you rename your documents before you upload them to the department systems. So thankfully, partner visas these days are now prepared online. Once upon a time, we used to have to prepare paper applications, but thankfully, the Australian government has kept up with technology, and now partner visas are all submitted online. So once you've filled out the application form, the system will allow you to get to the payment form. Once you've made payment, you can then start uploading your documents to the department systems to be attached to your application. Before you start uploading your documents, you should have renamed them and saved them to your local computer, your local laptop, before uploading them. So for example, let's say that you are attaching your marriage certificate. If you were attaching your marriage certificate, you would want to rename it something along the lines of relationship, evidence, marriage certificate. By renaming the document as A relationship evidence, it's a piece of relationship evidence. So that is what you're telling the case officer. That's what you're telling the department. This is a piece of relationship evidence, and it's to show or to evidence your marriage because you're providing your marriage certificate. You don't want to be uploading just your default generic file names because you lose the opportunity to give more information and explain more about your relationship to the case officer. So this is just another way to provide more detail to your application without necessarily having to go to too much effort. And it's a very useful way to portray to the case officer what the document is for. Top tip number 4 is making sure that you and your partner write compelling relationship statements. So a relationship statement is a love story in your own words. So you and your partner should write your own statements separately, and they should explain how you and your partner met, how your relationship progressed, it should also comment on the 4 aspects of your relationship. It should talk about how you cohabitate. It should talk about your financial aspects. It should talk about your social aspects. And it should talk about the nature of your commitment to one another. How committed are you to each other? You should also then touch on your future plans together. Where do you see your relationship going in future? Some very compelling and powerful words and things that the department case officers like to see are things like, we are going to be together forever, we love each other very much, we see each other having children, or we've already had children for those in that situation. We intend to purchase property together, we intend to open businesses together, etc., etc. It's about explaining what your future plans are as a couple. Future plans. It should be dated, it should be signed, and it should have the name of the person who has made the statement. And also, it's similar to one of the other tips that I mentioned in this video, any dates, any key milestones that are mentioned in one relationship statement should be consistent with the other. So if your partner says you met on the 1st of October 2016, then in your relationship statement, it's very important that you say that you met on the 1st of October 2016. So that's why it's really important that before you start writing your relationship statement, you and your partner are really clear on your relationship timeline and the milestones, so you both agree in terms of the key dates in your relationship before you start writing these statements, because you want to avoid inconsistencies, and that isn't just exclusive to your relationship statement, that's across the board, across all your documents. So again, very important, arguably one of the most important documents in any partner visa application is a compelling relationship statement by both the main applicant and the Australian sponsor. Top tip and final tip, number 5, is to plan ahead. Please do not rush your application and assume that you can prepare a thorough and accurate and well put together application in a week or 2. It does take time to collect the types of evidence that you need to make sure that your relationship is well evidenced at the time of application. At the time that your application is submitted to the department, your evidence has to show that you are in a de facto or married relationship, assuming you're applying for the 2801 or the 309-100. In addition, depending when exactly you're watching this video, rules may have changed in terms of requiring the sponsor to be approved prior to the partner visa application being eligible to be submitted. So this will also further increase the importance of being organized and making sure that you start preparing your application in advance, because what might happen in future is that if sponsorships need to be approved prior to submitting an application, there may be situations where people hold temporary visas, and those visas may be expiring and they have certain deadlines that they need to submit the partner visa by in order to get a bridging visa. But in certain situations, if you're waiting for the sponsorship to be approved, then you may not be eligible to apply for the partner visa. So it's, again, that just is a further example of why it's important to start organizing your documents and start preparing your application sooner rather than later. Because even prior to these types of sponsorship changes, even as it stands at the moment, people can underestimate how much time it takes to prepare something thoroughly. and you have one shot. You need to make sure that this is prepared well. You can submit and provide additional documents after an application is submitted, but it's the time of application, it's the evidence that you have that's dated prior to your application being submitted that is arguably the most important. So please don't rush, please take your time, and please plan ahead. Thanks for watching. I hope this video has been helpful for you and your partner, and I hope that you've picked up some tips and tricks that will help you and your partner prepare a better visa application. For those that would like to learn more about Australian partner or spouse visas, we are hosting free daily webinars, which we call How to Get Your Australian Partner Visa Approved and Avoid the Top 3 Reasons for Refusal. The webinar goes for approximately 30 to 45 minutes. It's jam-packed with additional information and value. Everything that we spoke about in this video is explained in more detail in the webinar. We go through additional diagrams. It's just well explained. I like to draw and I like to teach visually, so anything that you found interesting in this video, we'll go over in more detail in the webinar. So I hope to see you in there. If not, I hope this has helped, and you'll hear from me again very soon.